Hello everyone, and welcome to this video where I don't even know what I'm going to talk about, and I'm the one that decided to sit down and film right now. The thumbnail to this probably gave it away a little bit that this is going to be a tiny bit September wrap up, a little bit of October plans, and then just a little bit of a announcement update in general. This is probably the most half-assed you will ever see me do a video. I haven't sort of washed my hair. I'm wearing my pajamas. Zero effort went into the planning of this video, and I'm sorry for that. I did record a full 45-minute long TBR for October, but when I sat down to edit it, I was like, realistically, one of the things I said at the start of that video I was going to record, I ended up not, and that was my TBR game. Then I thought I've got another 20 book TBR when I'm stressed to hell as it is and in a major reading slump. And then I was like, I've just got too much going on. So I decided to scrap it and do a bit of an all-in-one video here. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk about my September reads and wrap September up. And yeah, it was my readathon, the adventure-a-thon. I was so excited for this. I was ready. The first day I devoured Shiver on live sprints in 3 hours flat, and I picked up my next book, which was What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I read half of that on those sprints, and then I didn't pick another book up until about the 24th. Why? I don't know. I kind of do know. My energy right now, you can't see it here, but if I do this with the camera, you'll see my dressing gown. Those boxes, all of this pile of crap, and all of this behind me, that is all stuff that I am selling on my Vinted right now to raise extra funds for going to Australia. So all of that I'm trying to get gone before I leave. It's been a time. So if I haven't been stressing about how I'm going to raise extra money, I've been stressing about packing and preparing and work, and also sort of going through all the different tourism sites to find out what's actually going on while I'm over there, and write down all the places I want to go to. There's been a lot of research gone into this trip. So yeah, there's been so much stress and planning going on that I've just not really been wanting to read. I've just been, if I haven't been video gaming on my off time, I've been binging TV shows again. I've just done another rewatch of Grey's Anatomy. I'm now making my way through Station 19. So yeah, as I said, on day one, I did get through Shiver by Junji Ito. While I can see why people love his art, and I do agree the art style is fantastic, especially the horror elements, I really didn't like the stories. The Hanging Balloons one definitely was the kind of horror that I was expecting, and definitely had me I was about to say threw me for a loop, but I feel like that's a bit on the nose. And a bit, some of the stories were fine, but I just felt every single story was lacking something and it needed more detail. I needed to know what happened next. I wanted to understand the motivations of some characters. Some of the things I wanted to know, well, where did this even come from in the first place? How did we get to this point? And I just felt every single story was lacking, and all of the characters were just so lackluster, and I just did not care about anybody. It was just really hard to understand the motivations of people. And as you know, when I read books and rate books, I am 99% basing my rating off the characters and the emotions I felt when reading. And this just did not give on either of those counts. So I think I did give it 3 stars because of the art style. And I liked the idea and the premise behind it, but for the most part, I was for my first ever foray into Junji Ito, and almost exclusively, everyone has said that this is the one to start with. Not impressed, and I don't think I want to read anything else, and I'm now considering selling this. I wasn't as impressed and I wasn't as mind blown as I was expecting to be. I did then pick up What Moves the Dead. I got not halfway through it, I think I got about a third of the way through it, and I've put it down because I was so bored. We spent more time getting the backstory of the soldier, and 4 or 5 different times we were reinforced about the pronouns, and it's yes, it is fantastic that we are having this exploration, and it was brilliant to have this sort of diversity with that kind of thing. And it just, the history of the war and the things that the soldier went through in the war ended up taking up more time than what the story and the blurb told me the book was supposed to be about. It kind of made me very confused because I was like, I'm losing what the whole point of this book is. So I have sort of asked Ren, like, have I put it down too soon? Because the soldier has just heard from the villagers about how the hares move weirdly and almost seem to not know how to be. So I was like, okay, the creep factor is starting to come back in again, but I don't know, I just kind of felt that certainly the start, for how short the book is, far too much time was being spent on everything but what the book was about. So yeah, I have soft DNF'd for now. I might take it with me because it is a very tiny book. I might just fit it in my bag for on the plane. I don't know. We shall see. I have asked Ren for further advice. But because of that, I then kind of went back into my slump again until a couple of weeks ago, about a week ago, I had a notification from Libby that a book that I put on reserve about 3 months ago had come through, and that was Murderbot Volume 1, All Systems Red by Martha Wells. Loved it. It was so good. The audio narrator in particular just got the blend of sarcasm so right. And I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of the characters. I was a little bit lost with the story at points. I was like kind of trying to figure out, but again, because it was such a short book, it's hard to try and fit in everything you need to know in such a small period of time. But I felt it did it really, really well in the end. And by the end of the book, I was kind of sad that it ended and have immediately put a request in for the next book, which thankfully, where Murderbot Book 1 has, it's sort of like a 26-week wait. Thankfully, the second book only had a 7-week wait, so I should get that while I'm out in Australia, but I know Ren owns them as well, so if needs be, I will just read them while I'm at Ren's. I did give that 4.5 stars. Murderbot in particular, I loved it as a character and just the way it perceives humanity and how all it wants to do is just watch its dramas and not have to partake in anything. I was like, mood, I feel that so hard. Most days I would rather just sit and watch TV than have to interact with people too. So, you know, I thought it was a really well done book, and I like how we got a hint of how in the past it did things that it now regrets and it wishes hadn't happened. But from what I'm aware of, the next book kind of goes into that and is Murderbot exploring its history a little bit more. So I am enjoying that aspect and I do look forward to continuing the series. And then again, I stopped reading. I did start in that reading slumpy bit. I did start Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, and I listened to, because I was reading it for one of the house prompts, one of the mansion prompts for my readathon. The prompt was to only read this book in bed, so when I was going to bed I started listening to it, but unfortunately my sleeping went a bit funny again. But in this time it actually went in a way that was kind of good for me, because I was falling asleep at sort of 7 p.m. and waking up at 5 a.m. and I found that was really, really awesome for me. That worked really well. I was getting a lot of energy, I felt like I was rested, I was very productive. But it meant that in the evenings when it was bedtime, I was just absolutely wiped out. So I've realised that reading in bed just isn't a thing for me anymore. I do 90% of my reading during the day rather than in bed. But I did start that and I am thoroughly enjoying it. I'm three chapters in now, and it's a retelling of The Goose Girl, which I didn't realise at first. I don't know why I didn't realise that. I probably should have. I think the cover is misleading because it makes you think Red Riding Hood. When you hear retelling and you look at that cover, you think, oh, Red Riding Hood, but it's not. It's The Goose Girl, where the servant has taken the place of the Contessa. Is it Contessa? I can't remember exactly. It's the story of that, and it's like, we all know the Goose Girl from the side of the princess, but this time we're getting it from the side of the servant who takes the place of the princess. And it's been really good so far, having a good time. But again, I just stopped reading it, but Jonah is now reading it for his October TBR, and I've said that I want him to help get, especially as it's my Patreon book club pick, we need to get it read. And then finally, the last book that I finished on the last day, I finished it with 2 hours of the day left to go, but oh my god, it is a absolute contender for book of the year. Celestial Monsters by Aidan Thomas. I was gifted the ARC, and again, because of my reading slump, I didn't get to it before the release day, but at least I got to it in its release month, which I am so happy about. It is the sequel to The Sunbearer Trials, which I have read twice and gave them 5 stars twice. This one, I was very torn between whether or not I was going to give it a 4.5 or a 5, but in the end, because of how often it made me laugh out loud, especially Naya, she is now one of my all-time favourite characters. I love her so much. I love how she reacts to things, and then it wasn't until someone mentioned her having ADHD in the book that I went, holy shit, no wonder I love her so much, she's me. And also the book at 2 points made me tear up, so I was like, I can't not give it 5 stars when I had such a fun time. And as I've explained, with Aidan Thomas's writing, they're writing the actual writing and things like their plots, they're always a little bit generic, quite easy to predict, you kind of know where they're going, but their characters, the way that Aidan builds relationships, the way they write characters and the way that they build atmosphere into their books is just, for me, it is the golden formula. And as I've said, characters and atmosphere is what makes a book great for me, and Aidan is a master at writing characters that I know I will love. And every single book, 4 for 4 books of theirs, have made me tear up either with joy or from crying with sadness at least once. That says a hell of a lot. And there's something I really, really love about with Aidan Thomas is the way that they write ADHD is they don't just either fixate on one thing that is kind of like a very stereotypical thing like some books do, and they also don't focus on the fact that, you know, ADHD is for boys and it's just about destructive hyperactivity and being naughty. Even when they bring in the bad sort of side of ADHD, like with Naya, not only is it representing women with ADHD, but also Naya has a very kind of explosive personality, and even when some of those like negative sides of ADHD are presented, such as when people are trying to explain things to her, she just gets very frustrated and just blasts on ahead without really thinking about the consequences, and then people get a bit annoyed at her. Aidan still has a way of writing that you still love the character, and it was the same with Julian in Cemetery Boys. He was explosive, he was very impulsive, he was very argumentative, very sort of aggressive at times, but then when you had it explained, you could see that it was done because he's passionate and he loves people and he's protective. He just doesn't really know how to express that in a healthy way. And that is absolutely the representation that we need with ADHD. It's not just this person has ADHD, therefore they are aggressive and start bar fights and don't care about anything or anyone. Thanks for that, Olivia Dade. But instead we get it tackled with a compassionate lens and they're not just completely dicks. And so I really appreciated that, and obviously it meant that I reacted very well to that. Are we surprised that Editing Kirsty makes an appearance in a video where I didn't write anything down and plan and therefore missed out one of the most important things that I wanted to say? Nah, of course we're not. But one thing I missed out when I was discussing about the characters and how Aidan Thomas writes, I do mention further on in this video about ADHD rep, but I do want to point out that the way they write queer rep is second to none. I have never read anything better. Even in this story, there is one character in particular, when we're introduced, he goes by he, him pronouns, and he talks about the fact that he is trans. And then after a conversation that they had with Teo in the first book, they realise that maybe they actually now want to trial non-binary pronouns and try they them pronouns because they feel like maybe that fits them a bit better in their current situation. And it was immediate, like the way the writing was so good, because it literally, the sentence before said he, and then the start of the next sentence immediately switched to they. And every character, even the characters that at that moment were like, we can't stand you, we hate you, they all immediately just went, okay, they. And it was just beautifully written. And the way that none of the characters, they judged everything else about this character, but they not once made anything about their gender and didn't once use that as a weapon against them, and I thought that was so incredible. And like I said, all of the books that I've read with Aidan Thomas have got such fantastic queer rep in, especially this and Cemetery Boys, but this one I feel even more so than Cemetery Boys. So yeah, absolute Aidan Thomas is a voice for queer rep in especially YA literature right now. I don't think anyone else is really doing fantasy and queer rep within fantasy quite like Aidan Thomas is. And I forgot to mention that in this video, but it is worth expanding this video by another 3 minutes just to say all of that. So yeah, please do check out their books if you haven't already. So yeah, that ended up giving 5 stars. And so as I said on Jess's sprints, because she's doing her very first ever readathon this month, so please check it out. It's called Scareathon. And on her sprints last night when I finished this book, I was like, not only is that a book finished, but it's also a series finished. So I'm very, very happy about that. And yeah, I felt like some parts were a bit too fleshed out and then other parts were too quick. But overall, I just had a fantastic time and I love the characters, and I can never fault Aidan for the way that they build banter between characters, and those relationships were just perfect. Even though I only finished 3 things, 2 out of the 3 were incredible, and then the last one was just, it didn't meet what I expected and I was disappointed. So that's my September wrap up. For October, I did, like I said, I built a massive TBR and I have got a big stack of books somewhere around, but I'm just gonna read what I can where I can. I am trying to make a start on the books that I'm trying to read for a romantic affair for when I go there in January. I've got a few books from some of the authors already on my Kindle, and I've started I can't remember what it's called, the Something Contract by Luna Lawson. I have started that today and it's so far so good. I'm just not a fan of Omegaverse books, and this is very much Omegaverse. And my rage at the treatment of, oh, you're an Omega, therefore you're not worth talking to, I'm like, that really pisses me off. Omegaverse is not a fun one because it is basically just like big brash alpha douches pissing on Omegas who they think are just not worth their time, and it's like, cool, great, let's just treat people badly just because they were born different. Or because they're not the right type of person, you're going to treat them like dirt. So, and there is an element of that in here that I have not enjoyed, but I am enjoying the relationship so far. I also didn't realise that this one is a Christmas book. So I was like, cool, bonus, because I can then include that in my Christmas reading vlog this year, which was not expected. So bonus. But I do have a few of my Australian books. I will have an Australian book reading vlog coming out, and I will warn you, the intro to that, I apologise to all Australians that ever have and ever will live. It's bad. I'm kind of proud of it, but it's bad. So I'll be reading more of those hopefully this month, and I've also got some Christina Henry books that I would like to get done because it's obviously Halloween and I want to read horror thrillers. So I do have a few books, but I'm just gonna be gentle with myself and not try to force myself to read a ton of books when I don't really have the time. The only real priorities that I have for this month are to get Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, and I've got a couple of books that are in progress that I started earlier in the year that I would like to get done because the physical books will not be coming with me to Australia. And then when I arrive in Australia on the 9th and 10th of November, there is an event at Adelaide Public Library that Ren, Max and I are going to. And there's a whole bunch of authors and panels about bookish stuff. And we've got Vanessa Len and Shelley Parker-Chan are going to be doing one of the panels that we're going to. So I will be rereading Only a Monster by Vanessa Len, which I'm thinking is going to be my plain book, so I'll talk about that in my November TBR. And then for She Who Became the Sun, that was immediately available on Libby, so I'm hoping to start that in the next couple of weeks. So those are kind of like the hopefuls that I want to read this month, but if I don't read anything, I'm not going to push myself, like punish myself, but I have read something. So I always start and end the month well, it's the middle bit that I need to work on. And then yeah, in general, as far as YouTube goes, I can tell you now there's not going to be very many videos. Normally I do 2 to 3 a week. I accidentally took time off in September. I didn't intend to basically take the whole month off. But after I posted my big vlog recently, my cottagecore vlog, which if you haven't yet, please do go check that out. I just kind of had a couple of projects where I recorded them and started editing them. Like there is one coming up very soon where I read the first line of every single book on my physical TBR. And then I was like, well, the vlog that I want to do following that, I now can't do until next year because I'm not taking all those books with me. And so I was like, well, do I want to scrap that? But I have decided to go ahead with that. So I've got bits and pieces that I do still want to get done. My Read It or Reap series, I have decided that where I'm selling a bunch of books, I've now cleared enough space that all of those books have ended up back on the shelf. So I've decided that I'm not going to do any more Read It or Reap videos for this year. And what I'm going to do next year is I'm going to start the series up, but it's going to be that all the books I buy are going to be in front of the shelves, and it's going to be, instead of trying to clear the stacks of books to get them onto the shelves, instead I have to read the books that are on my shelves already, and any new books I buy will go to one side. And basically at the end of the year, if I haven't cleared enough of the old books in order to get to the new books, then I have to unhaul some of the new books. So that could be a very interesting thing to get done. So that's kind of for next year. And then for the rest of like October, I reckon I'm only going to do one video a week, maybe even less than that. So I do apologise. There is going to be a massive slump with my videos until I can get to Australia, get settled, start filming stuff over there. I will be back in December fully and full time for Bookmas. I'm not going to do a video every single day like I have done in the past. But more days than not, there will be a video because I've obviously got all of my yearly wrap-ups to come. I will be doing my... Oh, okay, the cat's just being really cute right now. I'll insert a clip at the end of this video of just... She's just so cute. I've obviously got things like I want to talk about my journal setups for next, like my journals for next year. I'm going to do my reading journal setup, what it's like to celebrate in Australia for Christmas, all of the stuff that I get up to out there, my end of year wrap ups, like the best, the worst, my book of the year awards, all of that will be coming in December because I've just got so much going on. As I said, there's not going to be that many videos from me this month. I've just posted a journal setup video because I had a few months off my bullet journaling. So again, I've set up for October and I have posted a video where I've talked through my spreads and some other little bits in there. So please do go check that one out. Then there's obviously this video, but then I'm not sure yet when the next video is going to come out, whether it's going to be now or in a while. But yeah, if you've made it through this whole video, thank you so much for listening. Obviously, like I said, there was a lot to go through because I did want to, you know, wrap up, do a TBR and then a little bit of a life update. I fly out, as of filming, I fly out in 4 weeks and 6 days, and I've still got a butt ton of stuff that I want to get done between now and then. So it has basically just been all systems go. I've still got Etsy orders that I need to make and send out. I've still got things that I need to buy that I'm taking over to Australia. I've still got all the stuff I'm trying to sell to raise some more funds so I can do more fun trips. So if you want to help out in any way, shape or form, please do check out my Vinted. I've got clothes, K-pop photo cards, books. I've got all sorts on there. I've even been putting some art supplies up there to try and clear some space. There's also my Etsy shop. There's not a lot on there at the moment, but if you are interested, I will link below a document that has all of the things that I can make. So if you are interested in any, please do reach out. There's also my Patreon if you would like to join my Patreon for as little as, well, nothing a month, but the paid ones go, the lowest is £3 a month. And yeah, there's just little different ways if you would like to help. Otherwise, that's absolutely fine. If all you want to do is watch the video, again, that is fantastic. Anyway, at risk of sounding like I'm starting to plead with you to help, which I'm not, it's just these are the different ways you can support me should you wish to, but everything will be linked below for you. And yeah, there's just so much going on and so much stress about trying to get it all done in time. So we shall see how the reading goes and how my posting goes. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching this. Normally I ask you for something in the comments like related to the video, and I'm going to just say in this video to leave a comment. Let me know, how is your mental state right now? How are you feeling about the year? How are you feeling about life in general? Are you currently going through a bit of a tough time and just want to talk and vent? Let me know what's going on below. As I said in this video multiple times, I am currently a very, very stressed little bean, and I've gone from stressing about going to Australia to now I just want to bloody well get there so I can relax. So at least the outlook is looking better there. But But in the meantime, I am going to be very stressed. So yeah, let me know how your mental health is getting on, how you're doing in the comments, and I will see you hopefully soon on the next video. I hope you're good, I hope you're staying safe, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now. And of course, typically, as soon as I go to film her, she decides to stop being cute. I mean, she's still cute. Look at that face. Just look at that beautiful face. Huh? She's so beautiful. Yeah, we love you so much. Anyway.